You step beneath the trees. The daylight disappears almost instantly. Leaves overlap above your head. The air turns wet, dark, and loud. Now imagine doing this 150,000 years ago. No map, no metal blade, no flashlight. Only stone, memory, and other people. For decades, this scene looked impossible. Early humans were supposed to prefer open country. Grasslands gave you sightlines. Coasts gave you shellfish. Rivers gave you water. Rainforests seemed different. Too dense, too dangerous. Too difficult to read. But deep beneath the soil of West Africa, archaeologists found a problem. Stone tools, not from a recent village, not from the last ice age. These tools were buried in sediments dating back roughly 150,000 years. And the forest was already there. That changes the story, because your ancestors were not merely crossing the rainforest. They were living inside it. The site is called Beté I. It lies near Anyama in southern Côte d'Ivoire, about 20 kilometers north of modern Abidjan. Today, the region sits within humid West African forest. The first major excavations began in 1982. They continued through 1993. Professor Yodé Guédé worked there with an Ivorian Soviet mission. The team exposed a deep sequence of sediment, layer after layer. Inside it, they found stone artifacts, but they had two enormous problems. They could not securely date the oldest layers, and they could not prove what environment surrounded the tool makers. A stone tool alone cannot show you a rainforest, so the discovery waited for more than 30 years. Then a new team returned. The original trench was nearly lost beneath vegetation. Professor Guédé helped them relocate it. James Blinkhorn and an international group reopened the investigation. They arrived just in time. Mining later destroyed the site. That detail matters. Without the new work, the evidence might have vanished forever. The team needed to answer two separate questions. How old were the tools, and what grew around them? For the first question, they used optically stimulated luminescence. A long name, a simple idea. Tiny grains of sediment store energy from natural radiation. Sunlight empties that stored signal. Once buried, the grains begin storing energy again. Then they estimate when the sediment last saw daylight. Professor Mark Bateman studied individual grains from 8 samples. The sequence stretched from about 12,000 years ago to roughly 150,000 years ago. But one dating method is never enough for a claim this large. So the team added electron spin resonance, another technical phrase. It measures trapped electrons inside mineral defects. More trapped electrons usually means more elapsed time. The two methods pointed toward the same ancient window. Human occupation began around 150,000 years ago. That places the site within the Middle Stone Age. This does not mean the tools were average. It means they belonged to a broad African technological period, a period linked with early Homo sapiens. But dating the tools was only half the mystery. The forest itself had to be proven. The researchers turned to microscopic evidence. Pollen came first. Plants release enormous quantities of it. Some grains survive in sediment for thousands of years. Their shapes can identify plant groups. The Beté I layers contain pollen typical of humid West African forest. Grass pollen remained low. That matters. A few trees beside open grassland would leave a mixed signal. This was not a narrow woodland edge. The evidence pointed toward heavy tree cover. Then came phytoliths. Phytolith means plant stone. Many plants absorb silica from the soil. They deposit it inside their tissues. After the plant decays, those tiny mineral shapes can remain. The phytoliths supported the same conclusion. Dense, wet vegetation surrounded the site. Then the team studied leaf waxes. Leaves carry protective wax on their surfaces. Those wax molecules can survive after the leaves disappear. Their chemical signatures hold clues about rainfall and vegetation. Again, the answer was wet forest. Different methods, different materials, the same environment. In 2025, Eslam Ben Araus and colleagues published the results in Nature. Their conclusion was direct. Humans occupied wet tropical forest in Africa around 150,000 years ago. The previous secure African evidence reached only about 18,000 years. Evidence elsewhere reached roughly 70,000 years. Beté I pushed the known timeline back by more than double. So what were these people doing there? The stone tools cannot give you a diary. No bones tell you exactly what they ate. No preserved shelter shows you where they slept. But the landscape itself gives clues. A rainforest does not behave like a grassland. Visibility can collapse within a few meters. Paths close quickly. Rain erases tracks. Sound travels strangely through leaves. Food appears in patches, then disappears. A fruiting tree may feed you today. Tomorrow, it may offer nothing. Some plants nourish you, others poison you. Large animals may be present, yet almost impossible to see. Survival depends on knowledge, not general knowledge. Local knowledge, which vine holds drinkable water. Which root must be cooked? Which insects signal nearby honey? Which animal trail leads toward a stream? Which season brings fruit to one particular slope? This knowledge cannot be invented every morning. It must be remembered, shared, taught. That means the forest may have rewarded something deeply human. Culture. Not art in a museum, not music on a stage. Culture means information stored inside a group. A child learns where to step. An adult remembers where trees fruit. An elder connects one season to another. The tool is not only the sharpened stone. The tool is the shared map inside many minds. Picture one morning. Rain strikes the canopy above you. Almost none reaches the ground directly. It falls in delayed drops. Your group moves beneath enormous trunks. Someone carries a stone flake. Someone else watches a child. Another person recognizes a broken branch. That branch marks an old route. The forest looks chaotic to you. It may not look chaotic to them. Every sound carries meaning. A bird call changes. Monkeys move overhead. Insects become louder near water. A familiar tree appears. The group turns before any path becomes visible. Modern people often imagine ancient survival as brute strength. A hunter facing a giant animal, a spear thrown across open ground. But strength alone solves very little here. You cannot overpower a landscape you cannot read. You must notice, remember, cooperate, and return. The Beté I tools suggest repeated human presence. They appear across a long sediment sequence, not one accidental visit, not one lost traveler. Human activity returned to this place again and again. That raises another possibility. The rainforest may not have been untouched wilderness. Humans may have influenced it far earlier than expected. Professor Eleanor Scarry framed the next question clearly. How far back does human alteration of supposedly pristine habitats go? That question is still open. The tools do not prove deliberate forest management. They do not prove controlled burning. They do not prove planting. But human occupation always leaves pressure. People gather plants, break branches, move seeds, hunt animals, clear small spaces, return to useful locations. Over generations, tiny actions accumulate. The forest shapes people. People may also become forest. This is where the story becomes stranger. Rainforests were treated as barriers in human evolution. Now one of them looks more like a laboratory, a place where adaptability grew stronger. The old model was simple. Modern humans evolved in open African landscapes. Then, much later, expanding populations learned to tolerate difficult habitats. Deserts, mountains, cold steppe, dense forest. But Beté I does not fit that sequence. Around 150,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had existed for perhaps another 150,000 years. Our species was still young. Yet some human groups were already occupying a habitat once considered too demanding. They did not wait for farming. They did not wait for metal. They did not wait for cities. They entered with stone technology and knowledge. The big twist is not that the rainforest failed to stop humans. It may have helped make humans more human, because a variable environment rewards flexible behavior. One valley requires one strategy, a forest requires another. A coast demands something else. No single body design solves every habitat, but learning can, cooperation can, language can, memory can. In 2018, Sari Shipton and colleagues reported another long tropical record at Panga Yasiti in coastal Kenya. The cave preserved human activity reaching back about 78,000 years. It sat near a mosaic of tropical forest and grassland. The sequence showed technological and symbolic changes unfolding gradually, not one sudden revolution. Local groups experimented over time. They adapted within a specific landscape. That study did not show the same dense wet forest as Beté I, but it supported a wider pattern. African human evolution did not happen in one ecological theater. It unfolded across many. Grasslands mattered, coasts mattered, woodlands mattered, and rainforests mattered. This changes how you picture your ancestry. There was no single population marching toward modernity. There were many groups, separated by distance, connected at times, living inside different climates. Each group solved different problems. Some knowledge disappeared, some moved between populations, some became part of the human inheritance. Your adaptability may not come from one perfect ancestral homeland. It may come from never having one. That is the counterintuitive truth. Humans are not specialists in a single environment. Humans specialize in becoming local. A polar hunter learns ice. A desert traveler learns water. A rainforest forager learns the canopy. The body remains broadly similar. The behavior transforms, and behavior can change faster than anatomy. This ability still lives inside you. You enter a new city. At first it feels unreadable. The streets blur together. The sounds feel random. You miss the hidden rules. Then memory begins working. You learn the route, the safe corner, the busy hour, the place where people gather. Soon the same city looks different. Nothing outside has changed. You have. That is what the Beté I discovery reveals. The rainforest may have looked hostile to outsiders, but it was home to people who knew it. Their survival was not miraculous. It was practiced, learned, inherited, and shared. The site also carries a warning. Beté I survived for around 150,000 years beneath the ground. Then modern mining destroyed it. The renewed research captured part of its story just before it disappeared. Other sites may still exist across Côte d'Ivoire. Some may be older. Some may contain better preservation. Some may change the timeline again, but only if they are found in time. Archaeology often looks backward, yet its survival depends on decisions made now. A quarry can erase 100 Susan years in one afternoon. A road can remove a buried landscape. A forest can hide a site, then a machine can destroy it. What remains from the deep past is not guaranteed. It is fragile. The old picture showed ancient humans at the edge of the forest, looking inward, unsure. The new picture places them beneath the canopy. Moving confidently through shade, holding stone tools, following remembered routes, teaching children what each sound means. They were not trapped in one kind of world. Neither are you. You step beneath the trees, the daylight disappears. But the human story does not.